Hello again, this is Ed. I'd like to welcome you to week 4 of our class. I know time's just flying by. I hope you're having as much fun as I am. I'm guessing the answer is probably no, because you're the ones doing the work, but that's, again, part of the learning process. So hang in there. We're at the halfway point. I can say, honestly, you're all doing quite well. But let's get on to week 4. We're going to cover 2 chapters this week, chapters 9 and 10. Kind of looking now at the concept of groups and teams, and those 2 terms they don't mean the same, and as you'll see as we go through this week. We're going to talk about group behaviors in chapter 9. I'm sure you've all worked in groups of varying sizes, and I'm sure you all can attest to a variety of issues you've probably seen and dealt with, be it group norms, individual behavior conflicting with the overall direction of the team, different roles and expectations that individuals bring when they're working in a group, and the conflict that inherently exists whenever you have a group of people working together. It's a rare organization that has groups of people working together that don't periodically or maybe commonly have conflict. There's differences of opinion, differences in how a person or a group thinks a job should be done. You have different, what I call levels on the pecking order. And what I mean by that are individuals that perceive themselves as the leader. You may have 4 or 5 people that want to be the leader, and of course it's kind of hard to follow multiple paths on the same group. Hence, a lot of organizations have supervisors and managers to help set that direction. We'll talk about some of the group norms that exist that can be extremely powerful. Peer pressure, I'm sure we've all experienced that throughout our lives, and we'll continue to experience that throughout the remainder of our life. It's just a fact of life that when you have a group of people together, there are different pressures exerted on individuals to conform in a variety of ways that can be extremely powerful. I've seen, by example, individuals who are labeled an outcast. The other individuals in the group stop talking to them, won't listen to them, do subtle forms of what I would term sabotage to try to get them to align with the majority opinion for the group. So it can really create a wedge when you're trying to create a cohesive team that will work well together to achieve a common goal. We'll also talk about the concept of groupthink, which again is very powerful, where a group begins to think they're on the right track only to be blindsided by facts that are right in front of them that they're unable to see. By far, one of the most common examples used in academia is the Challenger disaster in the 80s, where the engineers working on that space launch, if you're not familiar with it, in the late 80s, the Challenger was a NASA space shuttle that was launched in below freezing temperatures. The seals on the rocket boosters failed and the space shuttle exploded. When that was looked into after the disaster, without a doubt, the investigation definitely showed that the group exerted a tremendous amount of pressure on a few individuals that were arguing against the launch, and the concept of groupthink definitely came into play because the group overruled those engineers and basically ignored the very facts in front of them that should have caused them to say we need to delay the launch. So again, a lot of concepts we're going to cover in chapter 9 that will have direct applicability for you and your role as a leader in your organization. Chapter 10, we're going to delve into the concept of work teams. Now, groups and teams are not synonymous. They don't mean the same. A team is a group of individuals that's put together to achieve a common goal. It may be a work-related goal, it may be a group activity that's now just kind of morphed into a project. But there's a focus and a direction that the team now needs to go to. They have directives, they have a group of people assigned to the team to achieve a successful completion, hopefully, of whatever the task is they have. So we're going to look at different types of teams that can exist. It may be self-managed teams, and you're going to actually get a chance to create a strategy for putting into place a self-managed team in your paper for this week. We'll look at the concept of virtual teams, and if you've not yet worked on a virtual team, you will in the very near future, because virtual teams are alive and well in many organizations, and they're almost a given in any international organization. We'll talk about different models that you could look at, be it the Tuckman model of, you've probably heard the term forming, storming, norming, performing, adjourning. We'll look at the Drexler-Civet model, of which I provided an abbreviated PowerPoint that I've used to cover that when I was in charge of creating a team. And in that example, we actually used the Drexler-Civet model to create the team, assign roles, and expectations. So again, these two chapters in this week really, I think, provide you again with an arsenal of information that you could then take readily to your organization when you are tasked with or in charge of running a team. The assignments for this week, you have, again, 2 discussion questions. First one delves into how do you build trust in teams. The second discussion question is looking for you to share your personal experience when you worked on a team, or maybe working on a team right now. Sharing that with your classmates so we can have a good dialogue about what's working in teams that you've experienced and what doesn't work in teams. Again, as I mentioned, your paper, you'll be designing a strategy for implementing a self-directed team in the assignment that I've outlined for you. You'll also be submitting part 3 of your term paper, that being the outline, and I've already provided you a basic outline in the term paper guidelines. Don't just simply cut and paste that in. Add some subheadings to that, add some additional structure that then you'll use that structure to create your rough draft. And by the way, as you're building your term paper, there's nothing wrong in you working ahead if you wish. So for example, as you're building your headings and subheadings in your outline, if you want to begin to add in some of your rough drafts, feel free to do so. That just gives me more time to provide you feedback before you submit your rough draft. So there's nothing wrong in doing that. And then when you submit your parts of your term paper, if you would, continue to build your paper. So part 1, you had your Venn diagram and title. Part 2, you should be adding your reference list. Part 3, you should be adding your outline. So build the paper as we're going. You don't need to send it to me in segments. You can send it to me as one document, your term paper that you're building and writing as we go through the course. Again, there's a few videos for you to watch this week as well. So I hope you find this week just as interesting and informative as the previous weeks, and I look forward to working with you in the classroom.